Hey guys, and welcome back to the return of TV reviews. And boy, do I have an interesting one in store for you guys today. Now, I know we just had the Oscars, the biggest award ceremony for celebrating people in the film industry for their work on and off set. But while people were focused on that, I was looking for a true masterpiece. See, when I'm not working on a video, I'm doing intensive research on my next video idea.
This is Glimpse of Us by Joji if you accidentally got Bonnie Blue pregnant.
And that's when I came across an announcement for a new animated show on Tubi called The Matumbilas.
Meet the Matumbilas, a new comedy about a Tanzanian family living in America.
Now, if you don't know about Tubi, it's a completely free streaming show, but it has quite the reputation for the shows it puts out. The term Tubi original gives critics nightmares. It's basically the Arby's of streaming services. So truthfully speaking, no one was too surprised when they saw a show like this coming to Tubi. However, I think when it came to animation, Tubi was starting to get some credit. Recently, they announced that a lot of old Cartoon Network shows were coming onto the platform, like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Kids Next Door, and the Powerpuff Girls. This was great because that meant there was a free way of watching these nostalgic shows. But The Matumbilas is not one of these shows. At first glance, I don't think anyone would have even known this was a show rather than a kid's first YouTube animation. The show's announcement ended up becoming a small meme, but while many are sarcastically claiming that we're all watching the Matumbilas, I'm taking on the challenge of actually watching the show, not because it's easy, but because I could put out a video for the month. But is this show gold in the rough, or can we be looking at one of the worst animated shows, maybe shows in general, to hit a streaming service? I think the answer might surprise you a bit. Now, I know I might not be the right audience, as you can tell by my appearance, but I'll make sure to try my best to understand any deep messaging the Matumbilas might have. It's hard to find reviews on this show that don't appear entirely satirical, which is probably something I should have expected. I mean, I found several reviews on IMDb made in the last week, and all of them were 10 out of 10, so I have some high expectations for this show. So, for some background, this actually isn't a TV show that was made for TV. It was originally a web series made in 2020 that got turned into a TV miniseries before its second season, which was put on Quelly TV. We are just making streaming services up at this point. So the trailers you actually saw that kind of blew up in the last month were actually announcing the series being put on Tubi, like the Cartoon Network shows I mentioned previously. The show mainly centers around, sorry if I pronounce these names wrong, Zofika, the youngest child, and his family, including the father Hashim, the mother Zainat, his sister Amina, and his brother Rajab. The creator of the show is named Zul Manzi, and the show is a representation of his life to a T, I presume. I wasn't there, so. The show consists of 17 episodes split into 2 seasons about Zofika and his interactions with his family and the town and whatnot. The best way to describe this show is that every episode is a canon event that someone like Zofika will experience in their life. I presume. I'm not black or Muslim. In fact, let me run by every episode. There's only 17. What? You were gonna watch the show? Oh.
Nobody is allowed to touch my fish. All right, Emily?
Here.
Okay, I can definitely see you, Emily.
We see Zofika's day in school, where he has to deal with the teacher, who might have the worst character design in animation history, and his struggles to pronounce his name correctly. He also has to deal with these students who are just annoying.
All I wanted was a little rub.
I like to jog. I like to jog. I like to jog. Why you kids right now? Come over here.
Another school episode where the class has a pizza party, but the pizza is pepperoni, which Zofika can't eat. The most notable part of this episode was the ice reference.
Rafika, who was that at the door? Oh, it was Ice. Ah, okay.
I didn't know this 3-year-old episode would be so relevant.
Pórtate trabajo y él va a comprar esos platos tan cheap. Ay, mi madre.
This episode goes over the widely debated topic of, should you beat your kids? Now, call me woke, but I'm on the side that you should not be able to slap a kid that isn't yours. It's pretty funny though.
Well, I have a solution. Maybe you can go outside to the streets and go to the men. And maybe they could...
Wait, what?
The Matumbilas have to deal with their uncle Abdullah, a freeloader who's staying over in their place until he finds his feet. Yeah, this episode's a little more relatable to me than I kind of wanted it to be.
Yeah, this is Bohemian Vibrations. This is my song. You know who you are, my nemesis. Come on. I just want this to work, you know. Why can't both of us eat, you know?
The
Terry Tyler Thomas, the third.
episode tries to make music with Rajab, but when Rajab says no, he ends up making his own music despite him, which turns out to be plagiarized from an actual band.
Do not worry, it's halal.
This is actually one of my favorite episodes. Big sister Anima gets a job at the ABC Halal food spot so Hashim can score some free food. But this ends up with the whole Tanzanian community trying to get some free food, costing Anima her job. It's the best execution of character development so far, and we see a lot more of the town.
He writing them notes tight in his fury.
Keep writing them notes.
Rajab tries to join a group called the Famous Fury, but it quickly becomes clear that they're only trying to use him. Not much else going on.
Dude, Elizabeth is pregnant? That is her 6th child with 6 different men.
The worst episode to the fact that it's just a 2-minute short where the children say,
Come on.
Come on.
to their family.
I was married once. Okay, I was married twice. Okay, I'm like I was married 3 times. Okay, maybe like 10 times. But this is not about me.
The Matumbilas have a big party to celebrate Zainat and Hashim's 21st anniversary, something Hashim is against. The episode ends with a pretty funny fourth wall joke, but it seems like it was wasted potential overall. I'm gonna explain later in the video.
Can this whole thing just be over? Wait!
We meet Desiree, who has a massive crush on our main character, Zofika. Girls falling in love with you? I thought this was supposed to be a relatable show. Then we follow Zofika's dream, where he's royalty and he's about to get married, but the wife has her flaws.
Chuck Norris?
It's hinted at the end of the episode Zofika does end up having some feeling for Desiree.
Toothpaste is white, toilet paper is white, and lotion is white.
Oh wow, we have an intro now. Hashim's father stays over at the place, which leads to some hijinks and a cliffhanger when the family finds out he's basically broke after being one of the richest people from their hometown. Zofika takes his grandpa's advice to not waste money on temporary things and ends up giving almost everything the family owns.
I am counting to 3 until I call my protective friends. The police.
It's actually an interesting topic, seeing how Hashim and his dad view the concept of money. Also, the ending was funny. Probably the best episode.
Lonely in this dark blue room.
Amina falls in love with this, activist named Devante. Amina has grown to be probably my favorite character in the show. Highlights in this episode include Amina flying and Hashim's song.
Why is it floating? What they give me?
Another two-parter episode where Amina finds out her boyfriend Devante is a bit of a hypocrite. There were some weird side plots with Mama Harusi and Zofika's egg drop project that didn't really go anywhere. I just want to highlight this joke.
Rub that wall! Rub that wall! You should feel every crevice of that wall!
A full 25-minute episode. Based on the name Hopeland's Got Talent, I thought it was going to be a giant compilation of just random characters doing stupid things, but it actually is story-driven, following Grudgeob's participation in this rickety-ass talent show. I actually thought they did really well with the extended time. I thought I could use a few more jokes, they were few and far between, but the end was actually pretty funny.
My new EP, Bumpin' Roads, is officially out. I'm about to play a few tracks for y'all.
Let's go home.
Now, where y'all all going? Wait a minute. I didn't even get to press play yet. Wait, hold on. Y'all all came out for me. Is the justice gonna leave?
Those are too many whites for me.
Another 25-minute episode that was released a whole year after the last. It's a rather simple episode though, where the Matumbilas are dealing with a huge snowstorm and each one has their own side plot. I was not engaged with this episode at all. Maybe watching this show was finally starting to get to me, so I'm glad this is the final episode. After watching all the episodes, this show gave me a mix of Everybody Hates Chris with the family dynamic, and The Simpsons with all the wacky characters that are in this town. You might have noticed that I said there were 17 episodes, but I only described 16. That's because the last episode is actually a behind the scenes of the creation of Season 2 with the creator Zul Manzi himself. It caught me by surprise. Before this, my only knowledge was a Reddit post the creator himself put out about the making of this show in his basement. Like, I didn't know they outreached to India. In fact, they got people from all around the world for this show. Even though it was a behind the scenes, I think it was important I watched this episode because I had learned some details on the show I wouldn't have gotten. And it also gave me some perspective. This show came from one guy with passion and determination to make a show and a ragtag team he put together to produce and write the show. The effort is present despite how it looks, especially in the second season. There's a wide cast of characters and there are a lot of background gags, there's continuity. They made an intro and slowly expanded the runtime more and more. There'll be a crowd shot and every character is individually drawn and animated. Even the small things like the TV gags and music in this show were made from passion and just fun. But now we have to get to the criticism because it was inevitable that this show would have a lot of flaws. Of course, the animation is a big problem, though I would just consider it bad over an ugly style you would see in some other shows. There are a million instances of small bugs or terrible animation. I don't need to speak on that. That was a given from the start. From a writing perspective, none of these episodes were groundbreaking, but I was surprised by the overall quality. Each episode goes for something different. Characters go through their own arc, and the show tries to tell a certain message in each episode. However, a lot of episodes didn't quite hit on execution. I think episodes like the anniversary episode, the season 1 finale with Desiree, or the 2 episodes with Amina's love life had some sort of lessons or message you can make out, but I just feel like it didn't hit like they wanted it to. Like, why does Zolvika have to learn to put up with Desiree through a dream sequence instead of just hanging out with her? In the anniversary episode, Hashim does not like the party and he's not engaging with it at all. And you see another man with Zainat singing on their anniversary. You'd think Hashim's gonna learn to let go and then go and stand up for himself. But no, it just ends right there. I feel like small details like these end up jeopardizing the whole episode. I think all the characters are fine overall, and each family member has their quirk and they're fun to watch as a dynamic. But my only complaint is Amina, who was one of my favorites on the show. However, as the show goes on, it looks like she's getting flanderized a little more. At first, she was more of a play it straight, doesn't take someone else's bullshit, says what she wants to say type of character. But as the show goes on, she slowly turns into a conspiracy theorist, believing that colors and origins to objects are bringing down the black community. The creator hinted at a third season, and it would probably have the same 25-minute format as the last 2 episodes of season 2. I'm mixed on this because I thought the first episode did great with the 25-minute runtime, but on the other hand, the second one was the most boring episode in the entire show. I think the show is at its best when it's doing these family or character interactions rather than these solo plots. Overall, I can't say I despise the show. The visuals were not a good sign, not only because it was bad animation, but because of the vibe it gave off. It looked like it was gonna be either some kid slap show or an overly edgy adult show nobody wanted. However, what it turned out to be was a somewhat fun representation of a man's life experience who's part of a culture I don't see represented in animation often, unless I'm missing something. It's not perfect, heck, it's a struggle to even call it good. Throughout me watching the show, I was relying on a lot of, oh hey, that's a good joke, or I see what they were trying to do here for positives. But if I was looking at this a lot more strictly, the writing often fails on execution, and that animation really sucks. But give this show some credit. It was started by one guy 7 to 8 years ago and managed to get on Tubi, which, you know, it's a notable streaming service. This is still a raw show that is visibly improving, with a creator that shows no signs of slowing down. Listen, if people are fawning over AI Fruit Island, let me have this. But that's all from me. Sorry if you guys were expecting me to watch something a little more appalling like in my last couple of videos. It wasn't that bad. If you guys like what you see, I beg of you, please subscribe. I'm almost at 100 subscribers. Please let me get there. Make sure to like and comment any other topics or shows you want me to review. That's all for me. See you later, Hopeland.